So good evening everyone. I would like to start this speech by thanking Architect Shivaram, my namesake. We've been social media friends for almost a year now, and thank you very much for giving this opportunity. And I would also like to thank the other office bearers of IIA Pondicherry Center, Tech Parisharajan. Good evening, Architect Vaidyanathan sir, and to all the eminent architects, young and old equally. So, I use a Mac, and Mac sometimes has these compatibility issues. So I use a software called MindNote, which would have been more sophisticated, but then I downloaded it as a PDF and sharing. So kindly adjust to the experience. Try to follow whatever my thought process is. By the end of the speech, probably 45 to 45 minutes to an hour, you will understand the topic, taking architecture to the masses, what I personally really mean by it. So, as I was introduced, I am a big fan of Dr. Ambedkar. I always start any of my sessions, most of my sessions, with one of his quotes. So, agitate, educate and organize, or educate, organize. So, he's the one who popularized this quote. He's not the author of the quote, by the way. So, this is done by SDF, Social Democratic Federation, a socialist movement in UK, way back in 1888. Ambedkar told this quote first in 1942 in one of the events. So, educate, we shall need all our intelligence. Agitate, we shall need all our enthusiasm. And organize, we shall need all our force. So, as an architect, I am making this speech as a call out to the entire fraternity to educate, agitate and organize and help ourselves. So, that's the motto of this speech. So, with that being said, I move on to what Dehub for architecture is all about. So, I was given an interview. Yes, I run a firm called SpaceMush. It's a 1.5-year-old firm, and been doing fairly good for myself and my team. Apart from that, I also have this company called Finteriors, which helps other architects in execution, apart from doing our own execution projects. And Dehub for architecture is my vision, something that I want to do for the rest of my life, along with my practice. So, Dehub for architecture is starting the ABC of architecture. I know most of the architects are, way too experienced and senior to me. I'm hardly 15 years since I graduated from VR. But whatever I'm going to say is about just my personal experience on my take on the architecture profession and what I've been doing. So before, why should you all, listen to me basically? So you need to understand a bit of a background on what Dehub for architects is and what we've been trying to do. So, so far I had this idea of starting Dehub in 2019 in one of their sessions organized by IIA. That's when the idea sparked. Architect Habib Khan was there. So I thought maybe there should be a community which helps architects with the business knowledge of doing architecture. So most of the architects are good in design, but then they lack the business skills that are needed to be successful in practice. So I always say this design is like pure gold, but you can't make ornaments out of it. One needs, other alloys like nickel and other elements to make ornaments out of it. Of course, design, you can't make an ornament without gold. But apart from design, you need other skills to be a successful entrepreneur or a practicing architect, which is like communication, calculations, thumb rules, being good with numbers, team building, having that leadership quality, and most importantly, negotiation, getting a payments from clients. So these are all aspects that I don't think it's part of a curriculum. It's not by default a part of a curriculum. And even if you work in a firm for even how many ever years, I don't think the top management or the principal architects take time in teaching these necessary skill sets to the young architects. Of course, they all teach design, detailing, materials, all that is there. But these skills are never transferred to young architects, is what I feel. And if you're a first-time architect from your family, and if you're coming from a family which is having working class parents, I had my mom who used to work for the government, secretariat. And you never get that entrepreneur mindset. You never want to go there and practice on your own. If you're lucky enough, if you have parents who either are architects or into construction industry or any other business for that matter, you think like a businessman, business person. But if that doesn't happen, you're unfortunate. And in spite of being really, really good at design, I know a lot of people who are way ahead than me in terms of designing, but they are not doing their research in terms of making money. That's what we are all trying to do, apart from being passionate about practicing architecture. So I thought, why not do this? And in one of my previous roles, I was the CEO of the firm. So my role was to help young, architects whom we take as seniors in converting them into intrapreneurs. So we used to teach them business, make them associates, and that's how my firm grew. The firm I'm talking about had more than 150 people working for it, with branches in Chennai, Bangalore, Coimbatore, and Jaipur. So it was a fairly large firm for an architectural firm. So I used to teach them, I used to mentor them, I used to share all the knowledge I had, because I strongly believe that if you share your knowledge, your company is growing, and that's what we did. And slowly after a few years, I became good at it. When you do something for a considerable amount of time, you eventually become good at it. So I became good at it. And in 2019, slowly, most of the people who move on from our firms, they used to call me and ask for a few suggestions. Like what should be the fee for this project, what should be the clauses, terms and conditions in the proposal. A contractor is playing with me, how to get hold of him. The software companies are bullying me for auditing. So I used to give them suggestions based out of my experience, and they had access to me because they worked with me, they had my number. So, but then there were a lot of other young architects. I've been one, and I had this problem. The first 2-3 years were really tough when you started practice. There were more heartbreaks than happy moments. Then I thought maybe there should be some system or mechanism where young architects have access to this, and instead of just speaking, I thought maybe why not try and do this. Let me try and do it as long as I'm able to do it apart from doing my practice. So I started Dehub for Architects. The initial name was something else. It was too long, so I renamed it to Dehub for Architects. It's basically a design hub for architects. Predominantly architects, but I don't want to exclude anyone. So there are a lot of interior designers, even structural consultants, a lot of contractors, even in the portal right now. So far what we've done, I personally done 100 plus one-to-one sessions. So when I started this Dehub, so I was always speaking from an experience of a 15-year architect, right? So I thought maybe I'm not giving the right suggestion. So for example, the usual question that young architects used to ask me is like, should I do my masters in India or abroad? That's one of the most frequently asked questions to me. So initially, I used to tell my personal opinion, saying that I did the mistake of going abroad as a young architect. Maybe I should have had more practice in India. So I used to tell them, don't go, have some practice. And I also tell them, like, you have to decide on whether you have to do it in India or UK and stuff. Then I really understood that I'm not a good mentor. I might be a good architect, I might be a good entrepreneur, but teaching is a very tough job to do. And I thank all of the teachers who put through with me right from my kindergarten till my masters. So I understood it was very tough to make people understand what to do. Then I thought maybe I should understand the grassroots problems, because the problems that an architect who graduated in 2005 is totally different from what the architect who graduated in 2015 is. The dynamics have totally changed, and I really pity the guys who graduated in 2020 and 21. So I thought maybe I should understand what their problem is. So I started doing one-to-ones, free one-to-ones, and I've done more than 100 one-to-ones. So I used to spend 1.5 hour, 2 hour time in Zoom. So this was the first lockdown, 2020, the lockdown. So they can book an appointment with me, they'll come up with questions, and I'll give my yarn for free. And it worked. I don't know if it worked for them, but I learned a lot by sharing my experience with them. I thought that I became a better person in mentoring young architects after doing all these 100 one-to-one sessions. Some of the one-to-one sessions were really soul-touching. Some of them were very emotional. I've had at least more than 10 people cry on a Zoom meeting to me. That's how difficult the young architecture fraternity is suffering. So I understood that I can't speak from this position, and I have to get down to their level in terms of what they know and what best they can do. Because for me, starting a firm like SpaceMush with 15 years of experience was actually relatively easier. Like signing up 24 projects in a year, I hope all practicing architects will understand it's a big task for a firm, and I never used any of my previous projects. I just spoke through, negotiated and converted. I'm good in networking basically. So, but if a person was to start now who has 2 or 3 years of experience, it's very tough. So I understood that their problem is totally different. And one instance that I would like to share here, I don't want to reveal the name of the person. He comes from a tier 2 city. So he had booked this appointment with me, and he couldn't come on time. And I always felt, I'm spending time and I demand the same thing. I want them to be prompt. So he didn't respond to the email, the WhatsApp, and I just got frustrated. And 2 hours past the timing, the meeting time, he messaged me, sorry sir, I couldn't come. Then I just had a go at him. I was angry because I would have done something else. My problem was at that time people were actually waiting to book one-to-ones with me because it was a free session. I was doing it on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, and I couldn't. He actually took away the opportunity of another young architect who could have talked with me and got something. So I told him what you did is wrong, and he said apologize. And I really want to know what made you not come here. And that guy is doing food delivery for one of the famous delivery apps in Chennai. Then I was taken aback, and I'm like, it hit me hard, like an architect, right? I'm an architect, so I feel he belongs to my family. I'm like, why do you have to do it? There are a lot of other things that you can do. So I asked him to immediately join the Zoom meeting. 2-3 hours later, I really wanted to know why he was doing it. So his story was like working parents, Tier 2 city. He's the first generation graduate, and he has an education loan of 8 lakhs. Graduated in 2020. Highly skillful for his, as a fresher, I saw there was some flair in his portfolio. The designs were good. He's done an internship in one of the famous firms in Chennai, but unfortunately he could not get a job there as well because architecture was, we were beaten down right? So he was struggling, and apparently some of the architects, his own senior architects, his own faculty members, they had taken free work from him. They promised him money and they couldn't give. I don't know what the reason is, and he was in Chennai, and he can't go back because he's a Tier 2 city, and people hardly know who an architect is there. They know engineers, they don't know an architect. And he has to be in Chennai because that's the only way where he can find some kind of freelancing job, some kind of 3D views or renderings or AutoCAD drawings or whatever. He's struggling. And he's living with the help of his friends. And to survive in Chennai, even if you stay in a shared accommodation and for food, I think you need 6K to 8K. And one point of time he decided that he has to do something, and he did that delivery service. I think I've done this as well. When I graduated from Nottingham University, UK, I got caught in a recession in 2008. I used to work in a fuel station. I used to work in a supermarket for 8 months. Before I ended up as working as an architectural assistant with Interiors with that. It's a famous firm in London. But those 8 months were a struggle, and I had to earn for paying my rent in London, one of the most expensive cities in the world. I had to pay for my food, and there was no way I was coming back to India. I knew what the starting pay is. So I saw the same pain in him, and I knew it. But the unlucky thing is he's doing it in Chennai. At least in Chennai we had a family, right? So then I tried to help him. I tried, I didn't stop him from doing the Swiggy delivery, by the way. I can't give him money, but he has to do it. But I told him that I gave him a few hacks on how to overcome this, and the guy is doing good. So this was one of the most memorable one-to-ones, and I realized that me practicing in Chennai, talking about high-end projects, high-end residential projects, high-end architectural projects, green buildings, all that is fine. I have to do it for my own passion of architecture. But as an architect, I have something to contribute to these guys who are struggling, really struggling. And so I wanted to do it even more vigorously. So one-to-one, 2 hours, one person, I was not able to reach the masses, right? Reach a lot of people. So luckily Clubhouse happened. Clubhouse is an app, it's an audio-only social media app. And I just started. I thought even if there are 10 guys, I'm fine. I save 10 hours because I do a one-to-one for 1 hour, right? So day 1, day 2, day 3, I think it was day 4 or 5, we had more than 100 people listening from all over the country. And day 20 we used to have like 400, 500 people, and one day we even clocked 1,000. And in Clubhouse we did more than 150 sessions every day, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. And that's how most of the young architects know me, know my name. Probably they don't know my face, but they know my name and they can recognize my voice, most of the young architects. And we took all topics that are not spoken in other architectural events. We spoke only business, how to calculate fees, how to send a proposal, how to negotiate, how to schedule a project, all those nuances that are needed for architecture. And one point of time we had to stop it because the lockdown was over and everyone got busy with our work, and we couldn't do it. And I had more than 40, 45 volunteers. We used to call them Dehub squad, who supported me. And we did this, and in one of 150 plus sessions I spoke more than 100, and there were a lot of guest speakers who came. Two of the most prominent, whom I feel really proud, is architect Mahesh Radhakrishnan from Mode, Chennai, Madras Office of Architects and Designers. He's someone whom I've looked up to as a young architect. I like his designs, I like the way he practices. So I think he was the first one to notice this Clubhouse sessions, and he gave a shout out in Facebook. He appreciated for whatever I was doing. And that validated all the effort that we had done. And by the time he did that, we had completed more than 50 sessions. And I think architect Murali Murugan, he also came and gave a speech. He shared about his journey. Mahesh shared about the first three projects and the mistakes he did in them. So those sessions were really good. And we used to call all consultants, give the knowledge, share the knowledge. That was the whole idea. And yeah, Dehub for Architects, the club in Clubhouse was the second largest architecture club in the entire world. I mean, Clubhouse as such is a fairly new thing. We had 9,500 followers. Yeah, and done more than 10 plus webinars through Dehub. Went to all the colleges that invited me and shared this idea of why architects should learn other skills of doing business. And personally, I've done 5 plus workshops, paid workshops on marketing, on ethical marketing and branding, on how to start up, how to do conversions, negotiations. To students, I took a workshop on teaching, on preparing a portfolio. So I've been on this side of reviewing a portfolio. So I shared all those nuances on how they can get, verified. And there are a lot of success stories. From young architects who applied those principles and they've been fairly successful. And we also started connecting people for internship, for jobs, if they needed consultants, because we were aggregating people, right? Everyone in architecture industry. So we used to start connecting. And as of now, we have a portal, a community portal, which has 400 plus architects. And so the community portal is dehubarchitects.com. It's a very small, low-key app. So what I mean by ABC of architecture is this: we have a community portal, and the idea is to help people with the business. And we are planning for apps that will help architects in doing the architectural practice in a very easy way. Small apps to do scheduling, calculation of cost, task management, all those things that we know, and we use Excel to do it. I just want to make it as a low-key app so that the young architects can easily use it. So these are all in pipeline. So Dehub for Architects, it has a mobile app. All architects can have their own profile. It's just like your Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn. And you can choose your own specialties in which you want to follow or concentrate. You can check the members. There's a main activity feed. You can ask questions, you can ask comments, you can ask, there are forums, particular forums where, for example, if you have a legal question, and I have one of my lawyer friends sit there and answer all the architects. And if there are questions related to finances or taxes, I have my chartered accountant friend, my own chartered accountant sit there and answer. Because these are things that I missed as a practicing architect. As a young architect, I didn't have those connects, I didn't have those networking. But after 10 years, I have all these connects and people know me. So I thought maybe give it to all the young architects, empower them to practice freely. We have a chat facility, there's an events portal. And yeah, so we've been doing this. And apart from that, business, we teach business through workshops. For now, we are doing weekly Sunday talks, 10 a.m. Through Zoom. So if you're a part of the portal, you'll get the Zoom link and it's free to access, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. So I just restarted it after a 1 month sabbatical after Clubhouse. And I've also tied up with few academic institutions. So I've spoken in, I've taken 2-day workshops on these topics on Mind the Gap. So I help young architects reach the industry in a more confident way. How to write an email, how to prepare for an interview, how to do your portfolio, how to actually get a reply from architectural firms, how to choose your specialization, when to do masters, where to do masters, long-term goal setting. So these are basic things that I think all professionals should know, not just architects. So this is what I've been doing, and yeah, so finally apps. So this is what we've been doing. So the reason I gave this intro is, so whatever I'm speaking is not just my personal opinion. It's all the knowledge. I'm representing all the thousands of architects that I've been interacting with. And before coming to this session, last 3-4 days I've been doing few small surveys, asking people what is the most, what is the problems they face. Because I'm not here representing myself, I'm representing most of the architects who are in touch with me or who attended my session. So I thought I should be a proper representative of all of them. So I would like to ask all of you, what is one most burning issue in architecture profession that all architects face? Young, seniors and everything.
Computer.
Sorry, computers. Okay. Any other answer?
Fees.
Negotiation.
Fees, money, lack income. Sorry, what was that?
Negotiation.
People negotiate
Yeah.
for money, for time, for everything, right? They negotiate. Anything else?
I think
Undercoat.
there is still a lack of the knowledge of what architects actually do.
Lack of awareness.
Lack of awareness
Yeah.
of architects' real role.
Exactly. Undercoat again has to do something with the money. So the most burning issue from interacting with all the young architects, in one way or the other, it has always been about money. Either clients not giving you enough money, or not paying on time, or firms not paying enough salaries to young architects, right? Interns, all those things. So just to give you an update on how bad the industry is, all the senior architects, what was your first salary as a graduate architect, sir, and which year was it?
Mine was a different experience. Because
How
I have
much,
seen you.
how much was a bicycle in 1992, sir?
At that time I had a mofa.
I'm
Because
just
also
asking
to-
to understand the inflation part. How much was a
Yeah,
bicycle?
bicycle was around about I think 600 bucks or 500.
So you can buy two bicycles.
Yes,
right?
500 bucks.
So I got paid 15,000. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So that was my experience.
Fine. So my starting pay was 15k, and it was 2007. I think the cost of a bicycle that time was 2k or 2.5k. So or maybe 3k if I'm not wrong. Yeah, 3k. So I can actually buy 5 bicycles. So you can buy 4, I can buy 5. So today the cost of a bicycle is somewhere between 6k to 8k, right? Or starting pay of a young architect, I don't think we crossed 15k as of now. Any person who graduated in 2020 or 21 here, if you can raise your hand.
Sure.
How much was your starting salary?
12.
Sorry?
12k.
12k. So it was in 2020.
2020.
So 2015 and 2020 and I graduated in 7, so it's almost 13 years. If you add up the inflation, he can hardly buy what? 2 bicycles, right? Something. So I'm giving this example to say the income disparity. Obviously architects have always been historically paid less. There's no denying that fact. But right now the situation we are in, there's no supply of people, architects basically. And you can't buy more than 2 bicycles with your starting pay. So that's a reality. I wanted to make that comparison. And so I asked the problem of what is the most important problem that people are facing, and most of them were saying can't find paying clients, delay in payment, very low pay for service, working, you're practicing, you're in a big firm, small firm, doesn't really matter. I asked, is it finding new projects, is it tough, or very low pay for work? Even there, twice the number of people said that low pay is what is hitting them. And this was in other platform, like this was LinkedIn and everything. And so I'm just saying that all architects have a lot of problems. There's a lot of issues in our practice. There's a lot of issues, but there's one common problem which fresher or a person with 15 years or a person with 30, 40 years, we are not getting paid enough. That money, the income, that has been a problem. Not just in India, even if you travel to the West, in UK or in US, you're not paid when you compare yourself with other professionals, probably doctors, lawyers or chartered accountants. So I wanted to understand what's wrong with it. So I'm sharing based on my opinion of my observation of this thing, because I've been thinking about this thing day in day out. Why are they not paying us properly? Because they spend so much money in getting projects developed, small, medium, large. But why are they not ready to pay the designer for it? And especially with architects. So I just wanted to see how people see architects, right? So this is one funny thing. One of my one-to-ones, I asked him again a tier 2 young architect. So not young, he graduated 4-5 years back, and he comes from a tier 2, very traditional this thing. They are looking for getting him married. Poor fellow doesn't have a girlfriend. So you know how it happens, right? So same caste, arranged marriage. So what he told was, because they thought, he can't make money as an architect. I was okay until this moment. Probably they are speaking fact. He told at least 10 of them didn't even know what an architect is. The common people don't understand what an architect is, or what an architect does, what we do, what architecture is, and it's the basic necessity thing to do a design project. People don't understand it. And I'm talking about a tier 2 city. In Chennai, the awareness might be much better. Pondicherry, I think the awareness might be even more better. Other cities like Bangalore, Mumbai, it will be even higher. But I'm talking about the majority of the places. People don't understand what an architect is. They don't even know that we as a species exist. So that's a problem, because these people are supposed to be our clients. So I wanted to see how architects see this thing. So I ran a poll on Facebook. When you're in doubt, post a thing in Facebook and you'll get lots of opinion. So you can see 53 comments, right? So all 53 of them are answers. Only 7 of them told that they will go with an architect if they wanted to do a house. And even in that 7, 2 of them are architects themselves. And not even kidding. And these are the public perception about architect. And this is very important, folks. If you want to build a dream house where money is not much constraint, or to build a unique house to impress neighbors, I would go to architect. Now this person works for a famous software company. Or if I want to build a home just for living space, when money is constrained, I will go with local contractor. So the underlying principle is, they think architects are expensive and we think they are not paid enough. I don't know where the communication error is, right? And the other thing is, architects nowadays for elegant hi-fi groups alone, we will go to civil engineer and contractor alone with experienced mason. All the comments were like this, and this one is really funny. Do at mason, since still some people tread that path. And people do that. My mom did that. And when I came back from UK after 4 years of work experience, I wanted to do a rolling gate for my site, number 2. She didn't take my advice. She went ahead with a money mastri, who's been helping us for the last 10 years. So this is common people's perception, and this is something serious. I know we can have a good laugh about it, but these are serious things that we should really worried about. So the other thing that I want to talk about is evolution of the design industry. So these are problems, folks, I'm listing. I hope you guys are with me. So I try to understand the biggest problem in our profession. Then I'm trying to move on to what's wrong. Why do we have this problem of money? Why we are not paid enough? So I'm trying to give reasons, rational, logical reasons for that. So one is the perception about people. Perception people have about architects. That's one reason. The second is the evolution of the design industry. It's always been a profession of the elite, right? For the last 70 years since independence, I've seen very few colleges were there, right? Until in 2002, when I went for counseling in Anna University, there were hardly 14 colleges in Chennai, Tamil Nadu. Today, I think 75, 20 of them might get closed, or maybe they are closed. 100, okay. So, but until the 90s, until this liberalization happened in 91, after Mr. Manmohan Singh, who the then finance minister, until then there were very few architects, and I won't blame all the senior architects who used to practice back then, because there were very few architects. They could afford to do only very few projects, and when you can do only a certain number of projects, you choose to the one that pays you the most, and people with money paid us the most, right? So this trend started changing, and there were a lot of colleges opening architecture. I think we have close to 500 colleges all over India right now, and in Chennai my number is 75. You're saying 100, I'll go with your number. Tamil Nadu, yeah, 100. So we have a lot of institutions now, and if we still have this perception that architectural profession is only for the elite, and that is going to hit us hard. Not the young architect, not me, not you, including the ones that are going to come in the next 10 years, 20 years. It's going to hit us hard if people have this perception that architectural profession, architecture as a service is only for the rich. Just like how you fall sick, you go to a doctor. You have a legal thing, you go to a lawyer. You want to file your taxes, you want to do an audit, you go to a chartered accountant. You want to do a building, you go to the mason, you go to the contractor, you go to an engineer. You have everyone else, a licensed surveyor. You can go to anyone else. Architect is on the least, right? So that is one problem. And large scale projects, lot of large scale projects, they reduce the demand of architects. So I'm not saying that we should do only small or medium projects. I'm saying these are reasons that affects our industry, our profession. And the corporate funded interior design firms, I don't want to name them in an open forum, but you all know what kind of companies that I'm talking about. Now they take away the jobs. First of all, when your new buildings that are getting built are reduced, the only scope of design that most of the architects, young architects, get is interior design. And now these corporate funded firms, they use architects as salespeople. Someone like an Uber or Ola driver, right? Architects speak really well, right? They have good communication skill. We used to defend that one single resort I did in my third year to an architect who's actually done 20 resorts. I had the audacity and the confidence to defend my design in front of them. And speaking to a normal client who has no clue about design, it's easy for us, right? So architects have this good communication skill, and these people market them saying you are a design partner. But the fact is, all these corporate funded firms, where they take in freelance, young architects as design partners. Okay, our guys think that I'm doing my design. First thing, they are not doing it in their company name. They are doing it for the company, the corporate company. All the cab drivers are called Uber driver or Ola driver. That's the same logic. In fact, I recently came to know that the email ID. So, for example, imagine if Interiors is that corporate funded firm. Of course, Interiors, I'm not a corporate funded firm, but Drishya, right? Drishya. So if I am taking her as a freelancer, first of all I do her is give her an email ID saying drishya@finteriors.com. So technically, she is a contract employee without all the benefits of a permanent employee. And she gets paid what, 5%, 6% commission for the design. So they are selling their modular products to architects as salespeople. And they pay really well. You can actually make 1 lakh, 1.5 lakh a year, a month. And in a firm with, let's say, a 2-year experienced person, you can't make more than 25k, 30k. Like it's a curve that grows exponentially after 5 or 6 years, right? So these guys choose to go there. But my worry is, after 5 years, imagine you work in a sweet stall. I would like to be the master who makes the laddus and bondas, or the bundis, right? I don't want to be the salesperson who packages them into a box and sells it. Because after 5 years, they will start squeezing in the commissions. The same thing that they did to the Ola Uber drivers, right? They did that, right? Initially they gave a lot of incentives. When they do that, all these architects, they'll be chucked out. 5 years, 6 years since they practice, or even 10 years. Lot of EMIs, lot of commitments. Married, you would have gone the family way. You would have been used to that sophisticated lifestyle. And suddenly, if you are not able to do that, you will also not know to do a design and execute on your own. Because you were always a salesperson. You were not the one, you were not the master who was making the laddu, right? You are just selling for someone. And this is a problem. And this is a problem that I see. And they take away the projects as well. And sideline due to lack of incorporation. I think according to CoA, as on date, we can practice as a proprietary firm or a partnership firm. We can't do it as an LLP or a private limited, and there are lots of examples. And I'm also aware there's an amendment on the way where it has been represented. So we have a solution for it, but as on date, this affects our profession. And the next thing is, we are always made to compete with each other, right? Whenever there's a competition, we are shown as like, I am not going because of this architect, I am not going because of this architect. We always see other architects as competitors. What is your fee? What is your percentage? What is your rate per square feet? Okay, how many projects are you doing? Which is good. Competitiveness is always good in a profession, but that has to be in a more friendly way. It's a big ocean out there, right? There are a lot of fishes, and we can all go in our respective boats, steamers, catamarans, whatever, and we can still fish, right? So that thought process should be there. So we are made to compete. So I came up with my own theory, a supply demand theory. So the problem is we have oversupply of architects in the recent times, and that's the reason why the demand for architects is coming down. And he's getting 12k after 13 years after I graduated, while I was able to get 15k, right? So that supply demand, I'll try to break it down. So there were 15 colleges when I graduated, right? We have 75 now, so 5 times it has increased. And the salary, 15 versus 10. So 15k is my salary, starting salary, and 10k is the current day salary for a fresher. And the next is 1 versus 12,700. This is a very interesting statistics, and unfortunately I forgot to expand this. Fine, I'll try to explain. So there's a survey done by, I forgot the website, I had the thing. So they've actually taken the architect to inhabitants ratio from all the countries, right? This was a thing done in Italy, right? There were 36 countries that they surveyed, and they came up with some numbers saying that How many architects are there in the entire world? Any random guesses? Anyone? How many architects are there in the entire world? Just take over this. How many architects in India at least? You should be knowing it, right? 1.4 lakhs. And CoA registration, okay, it is 1.4, is it? I checked and it was almost 1.1, 1.08 or something. But anyways, 1.4, a lot of them would have not registered. But apparently they themselves don't know. The guy who did the survey.
The registered architect.
Yeah.
It is 1.41 and 1.9.
Fine. There are even more non-registered architects as well, as you know. So they don't know the number. The global agency that did from 36 industries and 36 countries, and they try to come up with a lot of assumptions. They are saying that it's somewhere between 3 million to 4 million. That is 30 to 40 lakhs. 30 to 40 lakhs. We don't have data. And there was one interesting statistic which I am not able to share, unfortunately, here is how many inhabitants to the architects we have. China is at 40,000. That's the first. So for every 40,000 people, they had one architect. That's the number. And the healthy number, I'm saying it is a healthy number because those were the developed countries, the Western countries, right? The European countries, Germany, UK, USA. They had a range between 1,500 to 1,800. One architect per these numbers. India was at 12,700, by the way. We were second. But the irony is, they didn't even consider India in that survey. 36 countries were there. And Italy, for some reason, they have one architect every 400 people. I don't know what kind of designs or what they do in Italy, but it's like 400, every 400 person you have an architect. So anyways, the healthy number is 1,500 to 1,800 based on that record. Like, so we have at least 8 more times to go there. So we need 1.5 into 8, we need almost 12 to 13 lakh architects in India for the population alone. Based on the global standards. So we have the fourth or probably the third largest architecture population in the entire world. Italy, Germany, US, and then us, right? Even UK has only 35,000, and this data is like 3 years old. So this was an interesting number that I wanted to do. So I'm saying that in terms of population, we have very less architects. But then on the other side, I'm also saying that there are too many supply of architects. So where am I contradicting myself? So that's what I want to explain here. 10 versus 90. I don't know the numbers. I don't have data to prove. It's based on word of mouth survey and stuff. Out of every 100 development project, hardly less than 10% get done through architects. The balance 90% gets done through other professionals. Right? We are not participating in the majority of the projects. We are not designing them. Be it an architecture project or an interior design project or whatever it is, we are not participating in it. And that is where we are losing. And this is the data done by KPMG. Government of India, they did some National Skill Development Corporation. So they had this thing. And I mean, the document is about totally different thing. I was just trying to understand how many projects are there. So I spoke with one of my seniors from college, Architect Yaneshwaran. So he gave me a rationale saying, "Shiva, go to this document, you can check this out." And the unorganized sector is 80%. Okay, we are not participating in that 80% at all. The organized construction activities is at 20%. And in that 20%, my assumption is we are participating only 10%. Or maybe less than that. So we are losing out on all of this 7,674 billion INR. That's the market size of 2013. I hope it is way more now. But we are missing out on it. We are not getting to design them. We are not getting to manage them. We are not getting paid a fee for it. And these are the unorganized standalone contractors. 1,20,000, almost equivalent to the number of architects in the entire country. Right now, these are our competitors. When I say a competitors, not in terms of design, like we are the best designers, but we are not even allowed to design. Right? They do an AutoCAD plan. We all crib about it. Right? They do an AutoCAD plan. Anyone can do a 3D view. Anyone can do interiors. Anyone can do whatever they want nowadays. And there's no binding factor that you have to go through an architect. And these are the reasons that we have. And in terms of fee percentage, I think it needs a relook. The minimum fee I often hear a lot of architects saying there should be a minimum fee standard, right? Only then architects can make enough money. But the problem is fees works on a supply demand theory. If you have more supply, obviously the fees will come down. If you have more no demand, the fees will go up. It's a free market, right? After 1991, so we need an update on that as well. And we will always lose out to non-architects practicing design. We only protect the title called architect, right? But we can't stop anyone legally from designing a building, right? So that's a big extra large size hole in our entire system. So all architects are like infuriated when someone says that I will do architectural plan. It will be a contractor, some town they can have it trying to do a plan. We get infuriated when they do mention it as architectural plan, but we don't get infuriated if they say that it's a design of a building. Now that perception should change. The title, yes, we need to protect it, but we need to protect the profession as a whole as well, right? What do we do with the title, which is not paying us enough? So these are things that I wanted to identify as problems. And the next thing is quantity versus quality debate. So again, a lot of people say nowadays the young architects who pass out, they do not have quality. I feel that I didn't have quality when I passed out. I feel all the architects when they graduated as freshers, you didn't have quality, we didn't have knowledge. We learned architecture after the 5 years when we went into practice. We learned the detailing, we learned the materials, we learned coordination, everything happens after that. So obviously when we look at from a 15-year experience, as a young architect, I don't expect these guys to know anything. As long as they know the theories parts well, as long as they know, to come up with a basic layout, it can have errors, but I'm fine with it. So this quantity versus quality debate, I don't want to get into that at all as a problem. Quality is a non-quantifiable myth when it comes to design. So no one can say that this design is of great quality and this design is of worse quality. It was done for a client A, this was done for a client B. That's what the client wanted. So we can never compare, it's never an apple to apple comparison. So quality is a non-quantifiable myth. And this is an internal organizational issue. So even if all of us assume that the quality of education with which the architects come out is an internal thing between a fraternity. It's a matter that CoA, all the educational institutions, all the practicing architects, all the teaching architects, we can come together and solve this. But all the other problems that I talked about are our external issues, right? We have to fight it out with the others. We have to fight it out with the market. So that's the difference between this problem and all the other problems. So let's not focus on the quality issue, but there are so many things that are wrong that lead up to us getting paid less. So I came up with one possible solution, or the only possible solution is how do we participate in that balance 90% of projects, which is unorganized, which is being done by all our beloved masons, contractors, engineers, all the other professionals, right? How do we participate in that game? If we don't play the game, we don't win the game, right? Taking architecture to the masses is all about taking architecture to the common people. Enough of designing only for the elite, enough of designing only for projects that give us the best income, enough of designing only in the cities, tier 1 cities. Let's penetrate deep into the tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 towns, villages. Let's take architecture to the masses. Now this is my request to the entire fraternity to take it into account on how we can go about it. Fine. Okay, what are the things we can do? So I've identified a problem, I'm saying it's a solution, right? So one thing that I noticed is a system that won't fail is the only thing that will help make a profession income proof, right? We need a system, we need a process to ensure that. Because it is unorganized, we are not able to participate, right? Anyone can participate. So a random thought, like all the large scale buildings, for example, if you practice in Chennai, if it's a project that needs approval from CMEA, for sure you can't do it without an architect. But if it is an ordinary building that gets approved by the corporation, zonal offices, a license surveyor can do. So architects are not really needed. And even if I do a project, I don't sign because they deviate. Right? The builder deviates. I can't risk my thing, so I don't participate. So we have to come up with a system where the small and medium projects at least have a planning permission process where the architect is needed. Now UK has it. You can't get a planning permission without an architect. And that's why their practice is income proof. October 2021, there's a survey. Architecture is one of the most respected profession in UK. Above doctors, above astronauts, above politicians, above everything. Most respectable, most sophisticated, high paying jobs in UK, right? And I was like, why did I even come back to India from there? Bank loans. Now this is a place where we can regularize it. Like we as a fraternity, like when I say we as a fraternity, not just me, right? IIA, CoA, like this idea has to resonate. If we are able to represent with the bank saying that if you want to provide a bank loan, you have a person who does valuation, right? Chartered engineer, chartered valuation. How about us taking part in it? So obviously for coming to that, design valuation, because the cost of a bank estimate, 2,500 rupees a square foot is what construction they approve in banks. We can't do a house less than 5,000 in Chennai nowadays with all the sophisticated material finishes that the client wants. But the loan will not be sanctioned more than 2,500. Now, how about an architect having a say in the final estimate of the bank loan? A chartered architect for the bank. Just like how they have a lawyer, they have a chartered accountant. We can also participate in it. These are ideas for us to ponder. And resale certification. A lot of houses getting resale, right? A structural engineer can give a stability certificate. How about an architect going there and giving a certificate saying that, this house is good for resale, this is intact and this is blah blah blah, you might need to do this much of renovation to make it look good. Because I do it for all my clients. When they want to do interior, they take me to all the houses even before buying. They want my opinion because I live in Mylapore. I went with the client for 4 or 5 houses, scouting houses for them. Finally I chose one for them, a 25-year-old house, which cost more than a crore there. But they wanted my opinion. Right? How about I monetize it? I did it for free, I did it as a favor. I did it just for the goodwill so that they give the interior renovation to me. But how about we put together a system where we are able to participate? How many of us know a notary public, an advocate? They sign, they get money, right? I'm not saying that we have to do solo, I am not endorsing that, but there's a system, right, which enables architects, increases the demand for architects, right? So these are one of the ways that we can do. And demand increase through legalizing and financial procedures, that's what I'm saying, bank loans or whatever legal procedures you have in terms of developing projects. How about us participating in it? Not just the design, the entire system, the entire process. Any practicing architect just doesn't do the design, right? I even help clients with the loans. I connect with the loan DSA guy. So we have to participate in it. So that's the first suggestion that I have. And the second thing I have is popular culture. Now, taking to the masses. How many of you have seen this movie? Guys? None of them know, is it? If you study architecture at Tyagaraja Hostel, there are 2 things that define that you're an architect. You should have read Fountainhead before your 5th year. You should have seen this movie at least 3 to 5 times. Right?
Yeah, we
Go
watch
watch
it as part of the ragging.
Exactly. You're from SPA, man? So it's about the life of the entire architecture fraternity in SPA, and I think Arundhati Roy acts in it, Shah Rukh Khan acts in it. Go watch the movie, it's a really nice one. But this movie is not for the masses, right? It's more of a documentary kind of thing. I am talking about movies in which architects come. How many of you know that in this movie, both the protagonists, they were architects? They used to design a 5-star hotel overnight, a final year student, and the project will be awarded to them. Misrepresentation of the profession, right? I used to feel really bad when these boxing based movies come, except for the recent one, Saapata Paramara. I think they had done a decent documentation. Some of the movies, Mankarati, my favorite Shivakarthikeyan. I really like Shivakarthikeyan, but that movie did injustice to boxing as a whole. This did gross injustice to architecture profession as a whole, right? And who's seen this movie? Anyone? Okay, the movie name is Mandira Punagai, Karupalani, right? So he does this debate show in Z Tamil right now, Tamila. So this movie is Mandira Punagai. He is an architect. Like he has some other mental issue. I'm not trying to correlate with it. But there's one scene when there's an engineer, there's a watchman, and then there's architect. So the watchman asks, "Neenglu building building what's the difference?" So Karupalani actually beautifully defines what an architect's role is, what an this is. But unfortunately, this movie didn't go well, right? For us. This movie, how many of you have seen this movie? Salam Namaste, right? So in this, Saif Ali Khan is an architect by education. The movie happens in Australia. I think Preeti Zinta is an RJ or something, so they fall in love and stuff. But he is embarrassed to tell people that he's an architect. He feels it's cool to say that he's a chef than saying that he's an architect, right? This is another movie. Now these are movies from my memory. I'm sure there are a lot of other movies where you've seen architects, right? Anjali movie. I think Raghuvan's character was something to do with that. And I think in Badri, Vijay tries to say the same thing. This one? How many of you know the movie or seen the movie? I think there's one gentleman hiding here with whom you might know. This is, I hope you guys know who this is, right? That. And this is that, this is OK Kanmani. Oh, alright, OK Kanmani, let's rush it up. So, architect Pramod Balakrishnan plays a role in this movie, right? This would have had a fairly decent representation of architects. They would go for a conservation project and she'll be all excited to meet architect P.V. Toshi, and it had a decent representation. Thanks to Manirathan for that. But the problem is we are misrepresented in the popular media. Okay, nobody knows what an architect is. I didn't know how a boxing champion prepares, and I watched Cinderella, I watched Ali. That's when I learned about boxing, right? I learned about a lot of things by watching movies, because movies teach you a lot of stuff. They teach the culture, they teach the ethics, they teach everything, all the nuances. I think one of the reasons why we are not able to go to the common people is the movies represent us really, really bad. And this is a point to ponder. I'm not saying we should take movies. If we can take movies where the protagonist is an architect. We can take independent albums. We can do rap songs about what an architecture student does or what an architect does. I think there's been some attempt in that sense. We can do web series, which is a low cost thing, but it will really go. All I'm saying is represent architecture in a better way, right? How about taking a school web series which will hit all the the young people less than 30 years old, where the protagonists are architects or working in a design firm. It will be cool, right? It will reach all the people. And how about if it is in Tamil? And imagine Sun TV taking a serial where the hero is an architect. Trust me, if something like that happens, 10 minutes I'll finish. 10 minutes I'll finish. So, Sun TV, if they take a serial, if the protagonist is an architect, that's the best thing that can happen to a fraternity, according to me. Every household in Tamil Nadu will know what an architect is, and that's good for us. Web series, documentaries, all these things are important. And this is the most important thing that I wanted. Thank you, sir, for being back. How many of you eat eggs here? Just randomly. Participate, please. How many of you invest in mutual funds? Huh? I do. Mutual funds. Income may less investor. Okay, so there's a reason why I do this. Okay, just watch this ad. There's one more famous song, Sunday Kana, Monday Kana, whatever it will be, Rose Sunday Kana, something like Macarena, they would have revamped it. I've been seeing this ad since I was a kid, right? I wondered why would they promote egg, okay? And I had no clue then. There's one more video here. So this video is all about mutual funds. Mutual funds are here, okay? The correlation between these two things is the ad that you see with Sachin Tendulkar, with Kapil Dev, Dhoni and everyone promoting egg, it is actually made by NECC, right? NECC is, I didn't expand it, National Egg Coordination Committee, which has 25,000 poultry farmers. In 1980, they were all hit by the same way we are hit now. They couldn't make income, okay, 25,000 of them, right? Poultry farmers, not professionals, not sophisticated, formally educated professionals. Their production cost was high, and and they were not, the selling cost was less than the production cost, so they were not making money, just similar to us, right? 25,000 of them. They come together, they form this committee, they register in whatever society act or something. They had a list of objectives, lot of objectives, fixing the price, trying to remove all the in-between guys who are making more money than the poultry farmer themselves. And one of the main objectives was to promote eggs, right? Promote eggs. Eggs everybody ate, but they knew if they made people get habitual in terms of eating eggs, it will benefit all of them. Now this is something that I think as a fraternity we should seriously think about. I am not saying individual architecture firms should be allowed to advertise. I think CoA stops us from soliciting it, and it's a very good move. Otherwise the bigger players with more money will get all the fame. The younger ones will always be on the downside. But how about CoA coming up with an ad like this, promoting architecture? How about IIA chapters coming up with an ad like this, promoting architecture as a whole, so that we can go and reach the masses? I recently spoke with one of my clients who's a famous bicycle owner, and I'm doing a chain of retail designs for them. So I asked him.
Council is taking this action.
Thank you, sir.
Very soon it will be in CoA social and other platforms.
Promote architecture as a whole. So the client of mine who's a cycle retailer, right? So I asked him a question during my initial interactions. How there are a lot of rented cycles coming up, right, in Chennai. So from Ananagar you can go to Besant Nagar, plug and play kind of thing, like a pod. I asked him, does it affect your practice? Does it affect your sales? He said, absolutely not. Cycling is an experience. The more people drive, my sales will go up. The more people get addicted to architecture, the more people understand that architecture is needed for any project you do. Every project deserves a design. It is going to benefit our profession on a whole. We will get a chance to participate in the balance 90%. So these are the things that I want to do. Apart from that, expose outreach programs, not inside hotels like this, talking between us, our own lingos, which none of them understand. Go out to the people, reach the masses. There's a famous saying by Mao, right? The famous communist guy from China. Go to the people, understand them. So go to the masses, do expose, do mailers, promote architecture. Like every person I meet, every prospective client I meet, I spend the first 30 minutes explaining them what an architect does. And after the 30th minute, I explain why I should be the right architect for their project. So my business development starts after 30 minutes. How about the client already knew what I did? That saves time for me, right? So this is what I want to do. And what else can we do? Keep the army ready. Assuming that all of this happens, I know it's a vague wish. Assuming all of this happens, we have to have an army of architects. So one of the purpose of Dehub of architects is creating an army of architects who can practice confidently and ethically. And the secondary purpose is to take architecture to the masses, which I'm talking today. And by saying army, a disciplined army, an ethical army, that will do the right thing, that will not try to take another architect's project, that will not try to get easy money without the client's knowledge, trying to be ethical. So all the architects, whatever experience you have, I learned a lot from my seniors. I think a couple of the seniors are here in the audience. I'm not sure if they are my seniors, in fact. I learned a lot from my seniors, right? So all the practicing architects, whenever you meet young guys, instead of telling them that they don't know stuff, how about us teaching from our experience, sharing knowledge to the younger ones, empower them to practice ethically and confidently. Let's remove all the hurdles that we had when we were starting our practice. Let's make a healthier, fraternity. Let's share knowledge. That's the whole idea of it. Because we need a lot of architects. Assuming we make movies, we make rap songs, CoA comes up with advertisements, and from that 10%, let's say even if it goes to 20%, your starting pay would have been at least 20K. Right? I'm just giving a random this thing. So let's get the masses addicted to architecture. And 7 last words. So this might all seem very fancy and ideation. I mean, there's a famous Steve Jobs quote, right? The people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who actually do, right? So this might sound all a crazy idea, but it is doable. So, Udayum Uppakam Kanda, Udayavindri Thaladu Unatrubavar. Udayum is nothing but your destiny of fate, okay? So you can actually change your destiny of fate if we all perseverance, continuous effort, and trying to share the idea and trying to work as a team, work with unity, and take architecture to all the other people. Our fight is not inside, our fight is outside. Our idea is to take those 90%. Let's change our fraternity's fate by educating, agitating, and organizing. Thank you, folks.